Some of the items that sold in this video, I definitely went out of my comfort zone with, but as you'll see, it pays to do that at times, and you learn in the process. Welcome in, everyone. I'm going to take you through 10 sales, actually all eBay in this video, all eBay sales. First, I'm going to start off with this 1932 Newark Bears Minor League International League Champions button. I actually bought a large storage unit off a friend of mine a couple years ago. And when I was finally moving out of that unit, I kept the unit for a while. I was finally moving out of it, sweeping it, broom sweeping it clean. I found this button in a sleeve on the floor in just dust. So thankfully it was in a sleeve and like a little baggie. So it was perfectly clean and in nice condition, but sort of funny. I found some money laying on the floor like that. This button sold for $40 plus shipping. Nice pennant sale here. I saw a ton of pennants. This was one that came in a large dead stock pennant buy that I made, I think early last year. A few hundred pennants, or at least a couple hundred pennants. This was the 1950s Cleveland Indians American League Champions pennant, 27 inches. So not full size, a little undersized. But obviously that's shown right here. That pennant sold for $140 plus shipping. I charged $6 shipping, lightly rolled that pennant, and it did arrive safely. Then I sold this piece. This is a bookshelf Avalon Hill baseball game. It is open, but doesn't look like it was ever used. I actually had this bookshelf game with a bigger group of these for years, and I never looked them up, never did much with them. Finally looked it up and listed it this morning. Literally sold within like 2 hours of listing it. This guy sold for $59.99 plus shipping. So definitely be on the lookout for these bookshelf games. These are from like the late 80s, early 90s. Then a non-sports piece. This also came out of the big storage unit buy that I made from a friend of mine several years ago, or a couple years ago. This is an 1889 illustrated, like chromolithographic atlas of the world, a little booklet. I don't know if this was like a premium given out by a tobacco company or how this was distributed. These sell pretty well. This one had some condition issues. Probably could have got a little bit more if I waited, but happy to flip it. And this one sold for $100 plus shipping. And then sold this hat. I sell a ton of hats. This is a dead stock, new with tags, 1990 Charlotte Hornets AJD brand hat. Beautiful condition, beautiful color. This hat sold for $41 plus shipping. Sold this program right here. This was a 1949 Patterson Panthers, which were like a minor league semi-professional football team. Patterson Panthers versus the Jersey City Giants program. Minor league football stuff is pretty rare. Doesn't command the money that NFL programs generally do, but pretty similar money though, actually, given how rare they are. This program sold for $50 plus shipping. All right, so this is something I've never sold before. Don't know a ton about it. But, so here we have a cricket set. So first we have the cricket bat. I'll show this better in a second, with like six stumps, I believe these guys are called. So 6 stumps. The cricket bat, definitely an antique bat, non-Pareil, the non-Pareil brand. It does have this little wooden guy here. I don't really know what this even is, but obviously I showed a lot of photos. I don't know a ton about cricket. I played cricket once, pretty fun game, but never really. I've sold some early antique cricket photography. I've sold some cricket bats in my antique shop, but admittedly I don't know a ton about them. And I had this listed for a while. Had it at a fair amount of a higher price than it ended up selling for, but did get an offer. Happy to move stuff. This bat with this little, whatever heck this little guy is, and all the stumps sold for $160 plus shipping. Shipping isn't cheap on this. I had it set to calculate based on the weight and the size of the package, but shipping was $56. So definitely a hefty shipping price on this guy, but pretty cool. I sell any sport, even if it's more European or British, or I know they play cricket all over the world. But that was cool sale. Again, outside my comfort zone here. This came in the storage unit buy again from my buddy, from a friend of mine. It was actually the second unit I bought from him. I made 3 large buys from him. one large storage unit, a smaller unit like a year later, and then myself and my buddy King of Pennants bought a massive 3-car garage buy from him. This came in that second smaller storage unit buy, but it's a 1966 flipper Jack-in-the-Box style music box. Nice condition, although the mechanism didn't really work. It didn't play music. You had to manually like unlatch it for the dolphin to spring up, for flipper to spring up. So I'm sure it would have sold a lot better if it was in beautiful working condition, but still a cool looking piece. This guy sold for $40 plus shipping. Another non-sports sale here. This came in the 3-car garage sale that I just mentioned. This is a little 1966 I Love the Beatles pinback button. This gentleman who we bought this stuff from was a huge pinback collector, pinback seller. So there's pinbacks everywhere in our warehouse. And pinbacks are one of my favorite things to sell. Easy to ship. Photographing is a little challenging at times because you always get some glare when you're photographing them. So even though I only will put 2 photos up generally of a button, I usually end up taking like 10 photos to get the right, you don't get a ton of glare covering up the image on the button. This button sold for $14.99 plus shipping. I think shipping was $4 on this guy. Non-sports again with this vintage 1950s Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head kit. This came in the 3-car garage buy as well. This was a kit that you would actually use a regular potato. It didn't come with a plastic Mr. Potato Head. It would come with you would just use your own potatoes. You might have had a piece of foam inside at some point. That wasn't in there now, that you would use as well to put the faces and the hair on or whatever you're doing. Nice condition, although maybe it wasn't complete. This one sold for $25 plus shipping. Last sale. And I tend to sell a lot of baseball bats, and I tend to sell baseball bats in every video. But this is a youth size bat, but we have a Tober brand, or Bontober is usually how you'll see that on different sporting goods. BON-Tober, TOBER. This was a Connecticut company, Manchester, Connecticut on this bat. Again, youth size on this one, it's 28 inches. Generally, youth size bats don't sell terribly well. But Tober is a brand that does sell well generally. I mean, it doesn't show up as much. I think there are a lot of collectors for that brand, particularly. This bat sold for $80 plus shipping. On all my bats that I sell on eBay, at least, I'll put an option for priority mail and UPS or USPS ground advantage because of the size. Generally not cheap to ship bats anymore. This buyer opted for the priority mail, which I always prefer because I like to ship them in the priority mail triangular bat tubes. A little safer way to ship them. Those boxes are pretty safe. But again, $80 plus shipping. That rounds out the sales. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.